And I think maybe a lot of people have that image, but again, I don't think they understand what it means to maybe live in some of these parts. I think for a lot of people, they have this dream, this ideal version of Mexico.
So every time I see people posted, I want to looking for a place. I don't want to live in a gated community. I want to say you're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about.
Hey everybody, and welcome to our newest episode. Today we're talking about what it means to live in the real Mexico. Right? I think we hear a lot about this online in different forums or videos, and of course I think this means different things to different people.
Yeah.
We may agree, we may disagree. Let's see. I don't know. What do you think when you hear the real Mexico?
For me, real Mexico sounds like live on the mountains, some small village, right? Kind of poor area, like the one we saw in the video or pictures. The colorful houses on the hill. The small town somewhere. Maybe that's the real Mexico to me.
Right. And I think maybe a lot of people have that image, but again, I don't think they understand what it means to maybe live in some of these parts. I think for a lot of people, they have this dream, this ideal version of Mexico and all the beauty that it offers. But I think for a lot of people, obviously not everybody, that again, after a while living in the real Mexico, they come to very different realization. Right?
Yeah.
So, I think taking just from our experience, I think a lot of times people, when they want to live in the real Mexico, they think of maybe like the Centro, right? But, what does that mean? Living in the Centro, what's the good and the bad of living in those areas, right?
Yeah.
Again, people see the Centro, I'm speaking obviously of Queretaro or maybe some other bigger towns, the kind of old architecture, right? The pre-colonial architecture. No, that's going too far. Pre-colonial, maybe like colonial time, and forward.
The colorful buildings.
Right? The different styles of architectures on the church. They're so beautiful, from the outside. They look so pretty, right? And then they think of places like where we live, right? Kind of, I guess you'd consider more of a suburb, right? On the outskirts, maybe 15, 20 minutes to get uptown. And we hear this, and we've seen this quite a bit. Oh, that's not the real Mexico. But how is it not any more real Mexico than living in Central or living in a smaller pueblo, smaller town, way outside of a major city? To me, it's all real Mexico. Right?
Yeah, it's all Mexico here, just the newer or older, new construction or historic, they're all real.
Right. I think people think of like the suburbs, that's where all the expats live, and it's this expat enclave, whether again here or another city. But again, we've mentioned this before on our other podcast. Just even in our area, in our small little community, it's 112 houses.
Yeah.
I mean, there's maybe...
How many foreigners really, as we know, maybe like four
max, right?
Like
so
three,
four.
We only know another two neighbors.
Right. So that's four, maybe four out of 112 buildings.
Right.
I mean, so we're talking a very tiny percentage of everyone else here is a real Mexican, right? But I think sometimes people, another diss they have on these types of areas, they're also cookie cutter. I don't want a cookie cutter house, right? But
now, for me, I like cookie cutter. It's easy. Everything's built up and move in. It's for any house. The feature is how you made it.
Right.
Yeah, you walk in. That's how you design it. That's your house, your home feeling.
Right.
Who cares about the outside? Cookie color is nice. I like it. It's all the same, whatever.
Well, I think more importantly, again, I think people put too much importance on it.
They feel they're better. I don't deserve a cookie color.
Right.
I can live something really unique. Then build your own house.
Right. But again, how much time are you spending looking at the outside of your house?
Yeah.
In the total time that you own it, rent it, live in it, you look at it when you're in the rearview mirror when you're leaving, and when you come in, and then you're inside the house. Now, of course, maybe the inside of the houses could be a little bit different aesthetically. Again, yes, here all the houses are the same inside. Well,
not the same.
Well, like
different models.
Different models.
Yeah,
but
they have
there's
like
5 or 4 models.
6 models.
So I think sometimes maybe people think of maybe the inside could be a little bit different, but sometimes like when we've watched like HGTV, and you hear that, they love to do the contrasting views, like the husband and wife. I want something, very traditional. I want something very modern.
Oh yeah, they just made it this way to attract audience.
Yeah, but I think that when people start seeing the traditional, they start like, that's too ugly. I don't like that color. I don't like that.
Yeah.
They have this very ideal thing of what it's supposed to look like. Like maybe the brick dome, which again is a very beautiful feature. I do agree with something like that. It's very pretty. So maybe they like the dome brick, but then they see like that aqua blue greenish tiles that are on their kitchen counters. Well, I don't like that color. That's too ugly.
Yeah, the ones you see the bathtub, that's the old traditional
the old
stepping.
pink,
the stepping.
Yeah, or like the pink tiles on the bathroom. Like,
I think a lot of women just like some feature. It's an ideal life.
Right.
I like some feature of the Mexican design. But once you see everything, like that's a day-to-day life.
Right.
You want to really live there, unless you really love it. Maybe some people just like it.
Sure. I mean, obviously everybody has different tastes, and there's probably going to be a few people who really truly love that. Another issue though
it's not just looking, it's also some old house got issues.
Exactly what I was about to say. They do have issues, right? Like, again, what are something, even just from our personal experience, what do we face when we lived in Central? And those houses were from the 1970s, so not even
that old. For me, one thing I just slowly find out, of course, one is the water pressure. They have a water pump outside. So every second they're like, oh, what's wrong with the shower? It's always the second story shower pressure got really low. Then we call the landlord. They came over and said, oh, the water pressure, you got to do outside. Like every day to pump it up. It's also caused lots of noise.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the little pump to pump the water up.
Yeah, that's a water pressure issue is one of the big issue we had.
And again, we lived there just under a year. I think we lived there 10, 11 months. And they probably worked on the pump at least 3 or 4 times. At least. And maybe more than that, right?
And once the guy came to fix the ceiling lights and somehow just all broken, remember?
Oh, no, he had to break it because there was a leak.
Yeah, there was a leak.
There was a leak.
But it cost more broken than expected. Then they come to fix a lot of things.
Oh, I think they had to fix the cabinet, they had to pull out the cabinet, right? They had to break it open to really find the leak of what it was. And again, that's the kind of an issue you're going to face with a lot of houses here in Mexico, especially older ones.
It's all concrete.
Right, it's all concrete built. So like if they want to get into a pipe, like even our house, we live in a 2-story house. So there's obviously going to be some pipes running between us and the second floor. If there's ever an issue in the future, they got to come and break through the concrete. Concrete does offer a lot of good things as far as keeping things cool and regulated during the year. But for fixing things, it can be a pain. And if you have any electrical work or plumbing work, they're going to have to come in with a little a jackhammer and drill and break down walls or break down ceilings to get to these parts. So that's a little bit of a negative about these types of houses. And again, that doesn't matter what type, old or new, right? If there's an issue, it's gonna be a little bit of a pain and a little bit more work.
Yeah, and the older house, I also experienced a lot of ants or weird insects in the house. I'm not talking about the scorpion. I talk about in the upstairs bathroom. I got bit many times by my ankle every time after brushing my teeth. Then I realized that there's some fleas or something inside the house. I don't know what the heck is that.
Right.
And something going on.
Or whether that was old or new or just that particular area. But you're going to have issues. I know a lot of other issue they talk about in a lot of houses throughout Mexico is the plumbing.
The plumbing.
And I'm talking like toilet plumbing. And again, and being able to dispose of things in the toilets and not. Again, you really don't hear about issues like that so much in these newer builds. So that's something to kind of consider. Whether old build, new build. Whether you want to. And again, people sometimes don't consider this real Mexico. But again, it's all about how you make the inside of the house. Right? I think, like you mentioned earlier, that's where you live. That's how you can make it unique. You can be creative. Through decoration or kind of modifying inside to however you feel. If you want to add a little feature to make it more real Mexico,
you can always put some painting, some pottery, like we had some butterfly on the wall.
Yeah, the real Mexican small village.
Right.
And I think sometimes also people think of that as a real Mexico. Right? Maybe they don't want to live in the big city. They want to go live out in the little pueblos, way out of town. I mean, we live in a kind of, I guess, like I said, considered suburb area. But you're talking about people. I want to really go save my money or get away from everything and go live 1 hour, 2 hours away from the major town. Once again, I mean. Are you going to be in any realer Mexico? I mean, you're going to still be in Mexico, but you're going to give up a lot of little creature comforts. Again, I think this goes back to the idea that people have this romantic idea about Mexico. I'm going to go live away from everybody. Everyone's going to be so friendly to me, and I'm going to be with such kind heart of of the land people. And again, only to realize after a few months, year. It's not the life they want. I mean, there's no amenities. There's nothing out there. And maybe depending on your language skill. Now, again, if you're 100% fluent or very fluent, you might get along. But I think also sometimes there's this idea that all Mexicans are so friendly. No matter where you are. All you ever hear on travel vlogs and online forums about people who want to prove how awesome and how much they love Mexico.
Everyone's friendly.
Everybody is friendly in Mexico.
Everyone's so sweet.
Yeah. Again, it's just the reality of life. No matter where you go.
That's a human being.
Yeah, there are some assholes in life.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of jackass here.
Yeah, and there's also the people who give you the, there's also
Not about here, I mean generally everywhere in the world.
here on Earth.
Yeah, exactly.
Or there's also the people who give you the smile up front, and as soon as you turn around, yeah, that's the pinche pendejo.
Yeah. They can be like the first thing. They'll try to be friendly and things, but you don't know.
Right.
Okay, the first impression is always friendly.
Sure.
Until you find out who the people really are.
Right, and again, I think maybe that's where it comes from. Is that when people obviously realize that you're a foreigner, maybe on the front they're friendly or they're kind or they help you, and that's great. Now I think it's true for the most part, but again, understand that there are jerks everywhere, and not everybody loves you, right? Or they may only love one certain aspect of you, which is they know you're an American, that they think you may have more money, and they may be trying to get something out of you.
Maybe not everyone.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not assuming everyone like
Right.
that.
That's why I'm being very careful with numbers.
Right, exactly. No, people will put a lot of comments on that.
Yeah, that's not true. That's just it's some people, right?
Yeah.
Again, really, the point I'm trying to make is not everybody loves you the second you move here because you're a foreigner. Like, oh, gringo, like, welcome. No.
Some places even they don't want a gringo to move there. Like they talk about in Mexico City, Condesa, some area. Like you make our rental price goes up. Now we have to move out. Something like that.
Right. Yeah, and again, but you may get the real Mexico there, with people, and their true feelings towards you. But again, out there in those types of areas,
I think, sorry to interrupt you. There was the saying like when we're looking for the land before by the little town called Amiaco, which is 1 hour away from Queretaro. And we talk about, what about we live in the small town? What about we get a land over there? We heard about this area has a beautiful land. Then we also thought about like, what are you gonna do there? Yeah. Like it's too far from everything.
Right.
The only close town is Amiaco, which is a small town.
Which is a small town as well, right?
Is that can satisfy you? Sure. For some people
absolutely.
people may be okay, but for our age, I think we need more things to do.
Right, or at least access to
amenities.
Things to do, right? Yeah. Whether you choose to do them every day or not, that's fine. But it's nice to be able to say, I want to do something. I can just go 15, 20 minutes away, or even here closer within 5 minutes. There's things to do. But if we want to go to the centro and kind of be in the historic area, 15 minutes away. I don't want to drive an hour, 2 hours.
Yeah.
To get to be able to do something or have more amenities, like you said, to be able to have.
And I saw somewhere else yesterday was in the Queretaro EXPAT group. We will talk about things like, you Americans just want to live close by the Home Depot and the Costco. You just want to live by those big boxes. But not true. Not true. Like we live here, we don't go to Costco to shopping. How many times have we been to Home Depot? That was the only time because we have to look for a rug.
Oh, yeah.
So we couldn't find a big rug for our house.
Right.
That was it. That was the only time.
Right.
But most of the time we buy things from Gopel or whatever.
Most Mexican like that.
Yeah.
Only American place you really go to.
Costco. I don't need to go to Costco.
Is H-E-B.
Yeah, we go to H-E-B. We go to Walmart. That we also go to Mercado.
Right.
If we live in the town. Now we also go to the small village next to us to buy some local food and chicken, vegetables.
Oh yeah, right.
Right.
The little fruterias in the local place we have here in like Antioquia, they exist, but it's just people have that idea. I mean, real Mexico to me is what you make of Mexico, right? You come in, it's going to be your daily living, how you get around. You want to live in a cookie cutter place like this. You want to live in an older historic center, older building, again, that's very old.
But gated community is safer. Like we have bad stories. People live in Juliquilla.
Right.
Remember the lady who's a doctor who posted a few times?
Yeah.
Like her house got robbed 3 times, and one's got a gun.
By gun.
Like hey, she lived in Juliquilla. It's a big house.
It's supposed to be nice, very clean,
but the thing is,
area.
that's why you want to live in the gated community. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Even gated community here, people climb into the wall. They don't know who did it. Someone assumes security or someone related. We don't know, okay? Right. But that happens.
Right.
So even in the gated community, it's not 100% safe.
Sure. It may be a deterrent.
Yeah, like we live in the central before when we moved in. Our neighbor told us, close the gate every night.
Oh, yeah.
Mexican told us, close the gate.
And they had the chain.
Yeah, they put a chain. Make sure you close it after 10 o'clock.
Yeah, 10 o'clock.
Because before someone lived here, also a foreigner, whatever, who lived here, the scooter got stolen.
Right.
That's in the central.
Right. And again, that little, talking about that little 7-town home.
So every time I see people posted, I want to looking for a place. I don't want to live in a gated community. I want to say you're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, you want to prove, oh, I'm so down to the earth. Gated community are for those nosy gringos.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on.
They think you're too good for them. They think they're too good for the real Mexico.
Until you got robbed.
Yeah. and again, maybe that's taking it to an extreme, but again, obviously there's been lots of people. Again, 99% of Mexicans probably don't live in gated communities, and probably 95% of them have never really dealt with real serious crimes. But again, you're just more likely to. When it comes to a numbers game, you're going to be more likely to be some kind of, again, maybe some petty crime, theft, and again, nothing serious. But if you're more exposed, right, or certain areas of town. Right?
Yeah.
Where it may get too real of Mexico if you live in the wrong part of town in certain cities like Mexico City. Right? You want to go live in the real Mexico City, like up on the side of the hills where they have the cable cars. Again, we've seen videos on there, but we've personally never been there. It's one of those things when it comes to crime. People talk about be aware of your surroundings. You stay away from those types of areas. Again.
Yeah, even the local lady working the grocery shop, she said we don't. No, not Queretaro, Mexico City on the hill.
Yeah.
She said don't take the camera there. Film at night. Your camera will be gone for sure. Even we take a walk after getting dark. We don't go to small streets.
Right.
Okay, we walk on the main roads.
Right.
But that's the local talk about.
Right.
Sure, there's certain areas they live there, they feel okay, but they also know something going on.
Right. Right. At the end of the day, I think, like you mentioned, when people talk about the real Mexico, they want to live in these like non-gated communities. Again, for some reason they think again living in a community like where we live is just it's beneath them, right? We're not part of this culture of living in the real Mexico. Again, we have some great friends, acquaintances who live here. We got along with. Our kids play with each other. Again, as true Mexicans as you can get.
I don't see so many foreigners here. It's very hard to make friends with any English-speaking people here.
Right.
They mostly are Mexicans.
Right.
They're just more upper class.
Sure, they're more tend
to be make better money.
More educated.
Right.
And again, surprisingly, after meeting some of our neighbors for a while, again, we try to speak to them in Spanish, for all the time, especially at the beginning when we first met them, only to realize that I would say at least two of them that we talked to quite a bit speak pretty good English.
Yeah.
Right? But they just kind of let us kind of speak our Spanish and kind of get through things. And the more we got to know them, again, they actually speak English. And they've probably learned that again because they tend to be a little more educated. And so at least for people like us, my Spanish is pretty good, maybe intermediate, high intermediate, yours a pretty beginner. It can also kind of help you with becoming better, transitioning and becoming even better and more fluent because I may be able to get an idea across, but I might get a tense of a word wrong. And it may be hard to ask for that detail in Spanish. But again, being an English speaker, they understand what I'm trying to say and they can tell me how to use the right word or the right tense right. And so it actually kind of helps with that, with being able to grow my vocabulary to become a better Spanish speaker. Having someone who actually does, have a pretty good grasp of the English language.
Yeah.
And again, they're about as real Mexican as you can get.
And you always see some people post like, oh, I don't want to live in the place expats or gringo live. But here, I'm not talking about Mexico City, other places, but just in Querétaro, there's no one community like only expats live here.
No, or a high percentage.
No, they live everywhere. They can live in the central or suburbs, or some may live in the Pueblito, which is a small town close by here. There's also people lives all around here. You just don't know where. But maybe more live in the central, sure, because a lot of elder people or they don't have a car just for convenience. Right. But also lots of families live around for better parks. They always post, I need a place for my pet friends. I have 2 dogs, I have kids.
Right.
You want to live in their more suburbs, have better green space.
Right. Yeah, and it's all about what you need, right? And maybe this is the case for some people. Again, I think sometimes it's about saving face and what they can afford, right? And so maybe they try to frame it in the sense that I want to live in the real Mexico because maybe they can't truly afford to live in something better. And again, I'm sure that may be true for some. Again, it's definitely not true for all. But again, I think that could be a frame for some people, right? How they want to kind of frame it to make themselves feel better, right? I want to go live in the real Mexico. Because and maybe in their mind they think that the real Mexico is a little bit less expensive, which is not always true. They may have that idea in their head, but then when it comes to the realization of what the cost may be, they're shocked.
Like here in Queretaro, you live in the central, it's not cheap. For one bedroom apartment, you pay somewhere 400-500 easily.
Right.
It's not cheap.
Right. You know, so and if you're a single person by yourself, or maybe a couple only, and you don't mind having a very small place, then sure, it can be affordable in that place. But for even decent Mexican style looking homes, like again the apartment that we lived in, the home that we lived in when we first moved in, how much we paid?
It was $800.
$800.
But that time it was 2 years ago. It
Right.
includes all the bills and the furniture.
Right, and which is still a good price, but it was definitely an outdated style home. For the most part, I mean, there was modern amenities. The stove was nice. They did have the granite countertops.
That has the dishwasher.
It did have a dishwasher, right, which was very rare, which is amazing to find randomly. And again, it was, most people say, oh, $800 is not bad, and it's not. But for some people, they can't afford that, right? Again, especially maybe if you're a single traveler. And like you said, maybe now that place could maybe cost $1,000.
Oh, that's easily 900 or 1,000.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, depending on what your income is, you might be shocked by it. You might think you can get a place like that for $500.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people have that in their mind. Oh, I want a 3-bedroom. Like I'm giving an example of that place. It's 3-bedroom, 3-bath, right? 2-story, nice, right in the middle. I want that for $400.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's Mexico. That's the real Mexico. No.
Yeah, it's not cheap in Querétaro.
No.
Right. Yeah, we checked many places. It's even in our neighborhood. Actually, the rent is not bad. For like in the Risco, you can pay 8,000, 9,000 peso, which is for $500.
Right.
But you get 2 bedrooms.
Right. And
then
small.
you have a small, about 70 square meter.
Right.
But you also have the amenity of a gated community and the pool and all the HOA included.
The green space
Right.
taken care of for you inside the complex.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to kind of say about that. I mean, it's just what people want, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, the real Mexico, I mean, most places are real Mexico.
Right.
Maybe very tidy, like in Mexico City, like a really top expensive area like Polanco, or here the Gambelania. This is a very expensive gated community.
Sure.
Right. This is not a very real Mexico. You have like a really strict gate. This is not very real for me.
Right.
But I also know lots of people live there. They are paid by their company.
Right.
Yeah, it's not that they could afford
They
it.
could afford
Yeah, they are expats sent by the U.S. companies.
But once again, like I said, my opinion, that's
also a part
Mexico,
of it. Yeah.
Because again, 99% of people who live in Polanco or Campanario here in Querétaro are going to be Mexican. They're just wealthy Mexicans, which do exist. There's lots of wealth here in Mexico.
1%.
Yeah. And so just remember that does exist here. They're no less real Mexican than anybody else. I mean, maybe that money was passed on through generations. Maybe they've earned it themselves, through whatever business they've done. But again, they're just as real a Mexican as anybody, right? So I think kind of summarizing it, I think I've said it before, it's all real Mexico.
Yeah.
Right? No matter where you live.
It's all about what fits your needs better. Some people like living in the old house in the center. It's your choice.
Right.
Maybe you like that. Small, whatever, you like it.
And for some people, it's affordability.
Like for us, affordability. For us, we have a kid. We want to find a better green space for the dogs, for our kids.
Right.
And for safety, personally, I like a gated community. I feel safe. I just park Louie, all the vehicles outside. I don't even need to. Yeah, all the new toys, all the new cars outside. I know sometimes
you we'll leave somewhere to go run an errand.
We don't even close the door.
Like, are you gonna lock the door? I'm like, eh.
Yeah, we feel safe. We feel safe. Every time some people come in, they always call us.
Right. So again, I think at the end of the day, I think I mentioned that before too. Real Mexico is what you make of it. However you want to experience it, enjoy it. There's a lot of things to enjoy here in Mexico. Again, it offers lots of great things for whatever you want.
Yeah, if some people really want to live in older home or somewhere in the older town, sure, go ahead. Give a shot.
Yeah.
After living there for 1 year or 6 months, then that will tell you. Life will tell you it really fits you, or still you want to change it a little bit.
And you're no more or less than any more real Mexico than anybody else. Right? So let us know. What are your opinions on real Mexico? What do you think? What does real Mexico mean to you? Because obviously it means something different to everybody else. Let us know below. Thanks for watching. Yeah, and we have new videos every Friday and a podcast every Sunday. We'll see you soon. Okay, see you. Bye. Bye.